family wanted to make sure that Brick played a key role in today's funeral. So we'll see how that all unfolds throughout the morning, but we will see canines that will also walk by the casket here in the next few minutes or so.
And Raphael, I want to read something. Mentioned this earlier. Sheriff Mike Nielsen from Boone County, he put out a letter to his family in Brown, and we did see that letter on their Facebook page this morning. It was a longer letter to his fellow deputies this morning, but one part that caught my attention today, he said, "What I can tell you is that Jake would have been preparing his canine uniform, getting Brick ready, preparing his car, planning out these 2 days with honor as if it was one of us that had fallen. That's where I gained my strength this morning, from Jake." I thought that was a great way to put it. I mean, you just never know when, who, how it will happen, and this is a time when all of these law enforcement officers from around the country are coming together to show support for one another, because this is the Band of Brothers, you know, a family. This
is the first line of duty death in Boone County since 1935. So generations of officers have never had to deal with this in their own community. We have seen this play out throughout Indianapolis and Northern Indiana and other jurisdictions, Kokomo. And so for Sheriff Nielsen, this has been personal. Sheriff Nielsen was among the first officers to provide CPR to Deputy Pickett last Friday, shortly before 9:30 in the morning, trying to save his life. We've heard from an emotional sheriff who talked about not only being sad, but he put it out there. "I am angry," he said. He's devastated for himself, for his families, of his officers, and so this is a tough time in this community.
Yeah, he's been really open with his emotions. For us, for the people in this community, we normally think of law enforcement as, you know, upholding the law and being tough, but he's let us see all sides of him, and that's because of the person Jake was. You could tell he was so special to him, and they had such fond memories together, and he knew that he was the right guy for this job.
He knew so when he hired him 3 years ago. He also knows his wife Jen so well. In fact, Jen, through the sheriff's office, expressed her appreciation to you at home for all the well wishes, for the support at the memorial there in Lebanon. She wanted to make sure that you knew that as well. We also have heard from Jake's sister Christy Pickett on Facebook. She shared some amazing pictures earlier in the week that she said that we could show on Facebook, where she thanked all first responders, where she thanked the community. She talked about her brother, Jake, having a big heart. She loved his laugh. She said it was contagious, and he always had a smile on his face, and that he loved working with animals, which goes to show because obviously he wanted to be a canine officer.
Yeah, and we know that Deputy Pickett was a father to 2 young boys, a husband, and he not only had a sister, but he had a little niece, and we got to see a few pictures of her as well from the memorial, putting on his hat, playing around with her uncle when he was alive. He just looked like a really fun guy. You know, he was a great officer that we've heard from his department, but he also just looks like a great member of our community who was fun-loving and cared a lot about his family and his canine officer.
Here in our studio, we have 2 people who serve their state and their city well every day. Lieutenant Brian Churchill with the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department and Indiana State Police Sergeant Tony Slocum. And we just were talking about someone who, that was his passion. He got up every morning and said, "I'm going to go out there and I'm going to serve." And what joy on a day like today when we are dealing with something so sad, but to see the joy in a man who just got up every day and said, "Hey, I'm going to hit the streets. That's what I love to do. That's what I'm going to do."
I think Jake got to live his passion, his dream. You know, a lot of guys that and girls that become police officers, they grew up wanting to do that. And you can see on the pictures that Katie posted, I looked at those too. It really brought home just a kid from Brownsburg, right? Great personality. People loved him. Loved his niece, his boys. Was kind of a goofy guy, could be. Brings home who that person was. And I think us being police officers, we know that there's that side to you, but there's the other side that you love what you're doing every day. And he obviously did. He worked his adult life on a career path to get where he was, and his ultimate goal was he wanted to be a canine handler, and he made that, and he achieved it. And personal experience will tell me every day he got excited to go to work. You have good days and bad days at work. Right. But every day you're proud to put that uniform on, and you could tell that was his spirit. He loved doing what he was doing.
And Tony, the brotherhood, the sisterhood today is covering for Boone County. Every dispatcher, every officer, anybody who wants to be at this funeral today is being covered by a trooper or another law enforcement agency, which shows just how you work hand in hand with each other.
Right. We, as law enforcement, understand we're all in this together, and any small sacrifice we can make for those who knew Jake is pales in comparison to the loss that his family has suffered. So we're honored in any small part where we're able to participate. But unfortunately, policing still goes on when we have funerals. So we have volunteers that stepped in and hopefully do a good job filling in as his friends and family grieve today.
Give him a little patience today. You may have a trooper in Boone County who just needs to get to you. May not know where Main Street is, but they'll get there.
Yeah,
right? You always answer the call. Just give them a few seconds to find that house today.
And talk to me a little bit about the images of seeing these police cars and cruisers from all over the country showing up here in Indianapolis. I mean, we've seen this at other funerals, but that has to be powerful for you guys to see other departments here.
It is. It gives your spirit a boost. It reminds you of the fraternity and sorority that you're in as a police officer, that it is a community of like-minded people that believe in the job they're doing, that believe in the purpose of it, and it gets you going again. It reminds you, okay, I'm part of something bigger than myself. I'm not alone. That if a police officer having a difficult time dealing with this, there are other people out there that are going through the same thing and can support me, and I can support them.
We're seeing live images from inside of the church, which will hold the funeral for Deputy Jacob Pickett. The ceremony is underway as we are seeing the people filing by the casket, and then of course we will hear from the minister. The religious service will begin, but this is part of the service. This is part of what the family takes in as they're shown comfort and love and friendship from people that they know, as well as strangers.
And we know we'll hear from the pastor for the celebration of life. We're also going to hear from some familiar names. Governor Holcomb is set to speak. Congressman Todd Rokita will be speaking today. Also Sheriff Mike Nielsen from the Boone County Sheriff's Department. And we also know Officer Bradley Robbins from Tipton County Police Department will be giving the eulogy today. And he's been in a few different departments, so he's touched a lot of people in our community.
Of course, we're talking about Deputy Pickett, who worked in Marion County for a number of years.
Yeah.
In the jail, in the main jail, also won some awards while he was there. So it showed his level of excellence when he was there. He won an award in 2012, and then in 2013. Then he went up to Tipton, where he was a deputy there in the Tipton Sheriff's Department office, and then, of course, decided to come closer to home. He's a Boone County boy, and decided to work for the Boone County Sheriff's Office. And of course, the sheriff there, Mike Nielsen, saying once he met him, he knew right on the spot. This is the guy. This is the guy that I want to join my department, the Boone County Sheriff's Department, which has more than 55 officers strong. And today they are in mourning, and today they're in need of comfort, and they're getting that there inside the church in Brownsburg.
And Raphael, we know the family is already inside the church at this time. Again, we've been asked to allow them to be private about this matter. This is obviously a devastating time for his wife, Jenny, and their two young boys, so we will not be showing their faces on camera today out of respect for them, but we'll be showing the rest of the ceremony here that you're seeing right now on your screen. I want to bring in Sergeant Slocum. About the family, the wife, the children that are left behind. They're part of your family now, law enforcement. You guys wrap your arms around the families who have lost loved ones.
We owe this family a debt of gratitude that we can never repay. So the least we can do is make sure that their needs are taken care of, not just now on the day of the funeral, but as we move forward. She has young children that have to grow up without their father, and they're going to need maybe some guidance and maybe some assistance with things. And I'm sure the Boone County Sheriff's Department and all the law enforcement officers in the area are going to do exactly what you said, wrap their hands around them and do whatever they can to make this family feel that they're not in this alone, and that their sacrifice is appreciated by helping them out. Maybe just little things like mowing the grass when they need it, or helping repair cars or going to watch the young people in their ball games, things like that, I'm sure is going to occur as we move forward from today.
Last night on the News at 11, our colleague Erica Fly spoke to some of the wives of fallen officers. It was hard to watch.
Yeah.
They're the strongest group of people I've ever met in my life.
That was the part that was comforting, was just the level of strength that these women show in light of the horrific things that happened to their loved one. But it was still tough to watch as a parent. Because again, this dad, Deputy Pickett, deserved to go home that Friday after his day shift. But these women show such strength and such love, because you also would think that they should be angry. Maybe they are angry, but the love that they show overcame that anger. And I was just so impressed.
Yeah,
I was
Meredith
so
and
moved.
I shed a little tear this morning just watching it. It's incredible.
It was like a wow moment to watch them talk, and how they will embrace this widow, how they will embrace Jenny, how they will, that sisterhood will begin, because as they pointed out, the cameras will go away, the crowds will go away, and they'll need to find ways to reconnect and be part of their community. So I know that Mrs. Pickett will have that sisterhood as well as the brotherhood that will embrace her, hold her up, and comfort her, and help her in the years to come. So.
And I know both of your departments have been working to get badges, patches for the kids to put together a quilt. We saw that get put out on social media. So departments all across the country are sending things right here to Boone County, which is pretty special.
It is a moment. It is a moment as we continue our live coverage. The funeral for Boone County Deputy Jacob Pickett. We're also broadcasting on Facebook Live, and so if by any chance you have any questions about the symbolism of the day, to our Facebook Live audience, we ask you to, any questions you may have, we'll pass them on to our experts here in the studio as they are here to help us put perspective on this day. These are two men who bring honor to their profession, but also know all the intricacies. They know what every little thing means. So those of us who are just civilians, well, we love our community and we do the best we can to report on it. In other words, they know their stuff. And so if you have any questions about what you're seeing today and want to know more, we will pass on your question to Lieutenant Churchill and Sergeant Slocum, and they will help us put it all into perspective.
Yeah, and if you're just watching this at home and you want to be a part of that procession that will be taking place after the funeral here, they are traveling more than 50 miles across central Indiana, which is pretty incredible. And there's a number of different areas where you can stand along the procession route. There's a lot of flags out there, blue lights on people's homes, just a lot of different signs of respect and solidarity. We know that they'll be leaving Connection Point Christian Church, which is what we're looking at right now. From there, they'll be traveling through Brownsburg, his hometown. He was a high school graduate of Brownsburg High School. They'll be going up to Lebanon and Boone County. From there, they'll head back down through Boone County, communities he served like Whitestown and Zionsville. And then on Michigan Road, they'll be heading back towards Indianapolis to Crown Hill Cemetery for the burial. He'll be buried in a special heroes spot with a bunch of other people who've served our community and died serving our community. So a really special place for Deputy Pickett. But again, that will be happening after this funeral, and you're invited to come out there today.
Lord, on a morning like today, I'm reminded of the words of Maya Angelou. She said, forget, people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. I bring up her powerful words, that iconic poet and author in American history, because of someone like Ashley Switzer, who on Facebook wrote the other day that one day she was swerving all over the road, which is never a good thing, but she was swerving because she had migraines. And so this officer pulls her over, which is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
The officer just happened to be Deputy Jacob Pickett.
Yeah.
So what did he do? He could have given her a ticket. He could have had her car impounded and taken her to jail. No, he did, in the words of Maya Angelou, he did something that she will never forget. He took her to the hospital.
Amazing.
Right?
Yeah.
And said, look, you need some help. Let me help you. This is the right thing to do. And so that is who we are celebrating today. That is the man who that young woman will never forget, because those are the actions, those are human actions. That's our humanity at work, and that is that is what's unfolding today there inside that church, as people are coming together to remember this life on this day.
And we know that's just one person that he touched on one day. He's been a police officer. He's a young guy, but he's been a police officer for a while now, and he's been able to reach several other people, I'm sure, on a daily basis, helping them, helping the community. And that's whether he was in the uniform, on duty, and also off duty.
Well, you don't have more stories. You know, I couldn't help myself because
there's a lot of good stories.
There's a good stories, and when you talk about people, you want to make sure that you understand who they are. And there's another one, Sheriff Furbrock. Sheriff Furbrock talks about how since Deputy Pickett loved saving animals, apparently Deputy Pickett, while he was out doing his thing, saw that a Chihuahua was hit by a car, took it to a vet. Deputy Pickett and his wife loved animals, and because of that, that Chihuahua was taken to the Chihuahua Rescue, where they were able to give that animal to someone who would love it for life. And that, again, is who Deputy Pickett was and is, because though we mourn his loss today, the is part is that memory lives on.
Yeah, and these stories from viewers that just remember these random things that he did just on a daily basis.
On a daily basis.
Yeah.
This was the guy who was out there. Yes, he had to give tickets, and yes, he had to, enforce the law. But at the same time, he was human. He was human, and he made people feel the right way. And that is what people will remember on this day and every day.
And we want to thank you again for joining our live coverage. This special report in honor of fallen Deputy Jacob Pickett from Boone County. Our Derek Thomas has been at the church. He was standing outside the church before, talking to people as they filed in. I want to toss things out to Derek right now. Derek, what are you seeing at the church?
Lauren, I just want to share a story about Deputy Pickett. As I said earlier, I did not know him, but I'm getting all kinds of information from people who did, and how they felt and what they did, especially on Monday when I was outside the Boone County Jail. His police cruiser was there, and people were bringing things and putting it in front of his cruiser. And I spotted an elderly couple from Bainbridge. The husband was carrying a bouquet of flowers. The wife was carrying a stuffed animal, and they were not in particularly good health, and they were going very slowly. When I called with them, the wife was shaking her head and said, "God didn't mean for the world to be this way. For Jake to have his life taken was senseless." When I tried to talk to the husband, he opened his mouth, but words did not come out. He fought back tears, and he slowly trudged away. That couple epitomized the way many people in this community are feeling. Boone County and this entire community is grieving. That's just one short story about how his death has impacted our lives. Back to the studio.
In fact, faith will play a big role today for the healing process, especially for the leader of that department there in Boone County, Sheriff Mike Nielsen. In fact, his first words when he had to let the media know that Deputy Pickett would not survive his injuries last Friday, he quoted Ephesians 6:10, his words out of the Bible. He said, "Be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might." Those are the words that the sheriff leaned on as he had to tell his community, Central Indiana, and the world that this officer would not survive on that day.
And we know that after this all happened last Friday, the police officers, they had a moment to gather together when they got the news and kind of breathe, hear that he wasn't going to make it. You can only imagine what it was like in that room, Raphael, but we're a week away from that day. Today's a day to celebrate the life of this great man in our community. You can see his picture there in the background. Always looked like he was having a good time. We've gotten to see a lot of pictures from his sister of him having fun with his niece. It's just an amazing life that we get to celebrate today.
Indeed, and at the same time, as you pointed out, it's never easy to cover these events because you just don't know how to feel. How do you communicate courage? How do you communicate this level of love? To take a live look inside, I'm going to have Lieutenant Churchill tell me exactly what am I seeing. I'm seeing what appears to be two members of the Boone County honor guard? Is that what we're seeing? What's happening now?
What you're seeing is the honor guard transferring responsibility from one crew to the next. Every 21 minutes, there's a new pair of honor guard officers that take over responsibility for guarding the casket. And right now they're doing that transfer. The old team, after 21 minutes, is going out, and the new team is taking over. And they have done that and will do that every 21 minutes for the entirety of the time that the casket is in the church today.
Some moments just say it all. We are expecting one of the largest processions after the funeral. It may take 4 to 5 hours for these folks who are expressing their love and appreciation for the life of Jake Pickett to make it to Crown Hill on 38th Street in Indianapolis. Be mindful of that.
Yes, and we want you to remember that as you're heading home this evening. It could go into the early parts of the evening commute for this Friday, but it's something that you're willing to stop and wait for, I think.
Yeah, it's not really the big issue of the day. A slight inconvenience, you'll be fine today. But just be mindful that if you are along the procession route, if you can find a different way to get around Brownsburg, Whitestown, Indianapolis, plan ahead, because it's going to happen, and it needs to happen, and it will happen. And it's because of this very moment that we are now seeing unfold before our eyes as we honor Deputy Jacob Pickett. And Lauren, I was sharing with you some of the stories. Obviously, I've been able to go out and about and just try to figure out who was this guy, and what will he mean to, how will his legacy live on? And obviously his legacy will live on in the love of his wife, in the love of his family. His mom and dad still survive, in the life of his in-laws. They're still with us. His sister, his niece, as you've pointed out, who loved her uncle so much. But just in regular people, so it's the regular people that I've been just so, I'm always just, makes me smile when they tell stories. And at the memorial, the subway crew on Mount Zion Road left a 6-inch package wrapped in a subway thing,
Oh, yeah.
And on that wrapping, they just wanted to let him know, thank you for your service. Thank you for smiling. Thank you for coming in with good cheer, because the love that he shared with them in that time meant so much to them.
Made an impact.
And so how often do we make an impact when we talk to someone, when we smile at someone, when we say thank you? And so that's what we're seeing today. We're just seeing people who just had a brush with him, saying thank you so much. As you can see, officers continue to file inside the church as we get ready for the funeral for this deputy. So those are the kinds of stories that really we'll be hearing today. We're going to hear today from an officer friend from Tipton. There'll be a poem that'll be read. The governor will speak.
Congressman Marquita will be speaking as well. Sheriff Nielsen, who knew him very well, who's had a lot of wonderful things to say about him his entire time serving Boone County. It's a celebration.
It is, but it's a moment that is so difficult to, Lieutenant Churchill, I can't imagine the words. What do you say? And this sheriff has been so poignant. His words have been raw and powerful. He has moved this community with the way he has spoken. He has shown the leadership that one needs to show. But as you know, looking into the eyes of the widow and the family, that's tough. This is tough business. For him to muster the best words to describe a deputy that he cared for and he loved.
What can you say at a time like this? I think we've seen in Sheriff Nielsen's comments over the last few days the human side of him, not just the elected sheriff or the tough law enforcement officer side, but the man, the person, the emotion that he feels in what has happened. He's let that be known, And I think he'll have some private words to say with that family. I think they'll be from the heart, of course. But I wouldn't want to be in his shoes. I wouldn't want to have, and I get wrapped up just talking about it here in the studio, you can see. But I wouldn't want to have that responsibility that a young man under my watch who has a wife and 2 kids at home has been killed in the service of the community in the department that I'm responsible for, to have to go to them and say thank you for giving him to me to be an officer, and for what you have to go through now because of that. It's a big, heavy weight on him.
And it's not only the speech the remarks he'll make during the ceremony. He's also one of the last people to, at Crown Hill, will have to give that flag to that widow. I mean, these are tough moments, but he represents. He has to do them. I mean, that's
true. He has to.
And he understands that.
It's his charge. Yeah. It's his responsibility to do that. And when you said earlier, he was one of the individuals that gave Jake CPR. So he was there, and now he has to relive it. He has to put on the uniform and be the sheriff of that county, be the leader of his agency. But at the same time, he has to control that physical emotion and that personal experience and get up front in front of all these people and lead. I think he'll do a good job at it.
I think he's done a great job so far, again, just being real with all of us, letting us into his world, what he thinks about what happened, what he thinks of Jake, the kind of person he was. I mean, it just makes Jake feel like Jake to the rest of us, not just a deputy.
Sure. You're watching live coverage as we prepare for the funeral of Boone County Sheriff's Deputy Jake Pickett, 34 years old, married for 10 years, father of 2. His parents still survive, sister, a niece. As you can see now, a community that has come out to express their gratitude, their love, their appreciation. Boone County, Central Indiana today grieves. People are heartbroken. And in this moment here, inside this church, they hope to get a sense of healing, which will take time. Nothing ever happens in a day, or in a week, or in a month. It'll take years, but this is the road to that. This is a way to show the widow and the family that people in this room and people watching on RTV6, Facebook Live, wherever you may be at this moment, that you support what this man stood for. Courage, public service, family, love. He loved animals. The values which, as Hoosiers, we appreciate every day. And so today, at 11:34 in the morning, we are celebrating the best of what a Hoosier is, can be, and will be. And so that's why today we are on the air. Doing this because this is important to all of us. The lessons from this, what this represents in our lives every day, is bigger than all of us. And it deserves the attention that it's getting because this is who we are. This is who we want to be. We don't want to be here at this moment because of the pain it's caused. But we surely, we appreciate, we can embrace the values that this is playing out before us.
We've seen so many members of law enforcement filing in here today, from here locally, all across the country. And this is not only a moment to celebrate Jake and thank him for his service, but this is a time for all of us to remember to thank these guys and girls for the job they do every day.
Don't forget the girls, Lauren.
Don't forget the girls. And the K-9 deputies. We've seen them file in as well, also doing a service for our community. So it's a tough day. It's a somber day for all of us here. It's a sad day. But it's also a day to put that in the back of your mind that when you come across these people, you run into them at a restaurant, maybe they pull you over, it's a time to thank them for their service to our community.
Thank you goes a long way. Lieutenant Churchill, it has been a deadly year for law enforcement around the country. Indiana has not been immune from what happened to us last Friday at 9:40 in the morning in Lebanon. You have some numbers for us. I think it's 26 officers across the country.
According to the Officer Down Memorial webpage, so far this year there's been 26 officers killed in the line of duty, 16 of those by gunfire. So we're on a bad pace. It's a dangerous time for law enforcement. It has been the last several years. I think we set a record in 2016 for the number of officers killed. And like we said earlier, here we are again for the 4th time in just a few short years.
Sergeant Slocum, your boss, the superintendent, Dirk Carter said, evil does not win. Despite what we're seeing now, despite what happened last Friday, despite what's playing out at this moment, he said evil does not win. Can you accept that, considering what we're seeing? I mean, is it hard, or do you believe what the boss man said?
No, I definitely believe what the boss says. But obviously we lose some battles, and we lost that battle last week. But I think with the show of support from the community, from the thousands of police officers you see today, is we're going to continue the good fight. We're going to continue to protect our communities and do the best we can to keep the people that we're tasked with protecting safe. And in the end, I truly believe with good men and women out there patrolling our streets, as Jake was doing when he died, evil will not prevail. It will not.
Well, let me just say that I agree with you as a member of this community, because Laura and I get a chance to travel through all our counties and see people at work, see you at work, but see just regular people at work. Evil will not win.